So I'm Tava. I am 23 and I had my eye removed when I was 21 after being blind for about 10 years in my right eye. So I developed this is bulby, which is when the eye begins to shrink because fluid isn't moving through it anymore. It's not working properly and it gets really painful. So the way they fix that is to remove the whole eye, which is called an enucleation. So one of my top questions that I get that people message me multiple times a week about is how to prepare for an enucleation, what to expect during recovery, and just all questions surrounding the surgery. So obviously everybody's gonna have a different experience, but for me, I feel like I had a really good experience and I have some really helpful tips, just things that I wish I had known before my surgery that maybe would have helped make it even easier. So for me, I stayed overnight after my surgery. So I went in and my surgery was at about 3 o'clock, and you go in, you go to like pre-op and everything, and they give you your IV, go through all the questions. That part was really fast. I was only in pre-op for probably like 20 minutes, and then that's when my fiance, who was in the room with me, had to leave, and they brought me back to like the waiting area before you go into the operating room. And that I was there for I think like an hour, and that's where I definitely got more nervous. And I was starting to like panic a little because you don't really know what to expect. You don't know what it's gonna feel like. It's just really hard, especially when you're in a position where you don't know anybody who's had an enucleation, which is most of us, I feel like. So I went in, and honestly, it was really quick. Once I got into the operating room, he was like, don't worry, like, if there's any questions when you wake up, we'll get it dealt with. We're gonna numb you. And then they put me out. And I've been put under plenty of times, so that part wasn't terrible for me. My only thing is I don't like having the mask on my face, so they put me out without the mask. Did all that after I was asleep. So I woke up, I think the surgery was only like 40 minutes. It's really quick. And then I got wheeled to where I would be spending the night. And my fiance and my mom and my uncle, they all got to come in and see me after that. But I was so tired because you just want to sleep after from all the meds they give you. And I wasn't in any pain when I woke up. I was numb from like here all the way to the back of my head. Like I was sitting there like tugging at my hair because I was like, I can't feel that. You are completely numb, which is really nice because like you don't wake up in pain. So at that point, it was like later in the afternoon. I think that my family only stayed for probably like a half hour because I literally was just like, I'm gonna go to sleep, like I'm exhausted. But yeah, I had no pain at that point, and I went back to sleep, and I woke up at I think 9 o'clock at night, and obviously I was still in the hospital, and that's when I did start to experience some pain, but it wasn't anything unmanageable, and they came and gave me a dose of meds that I was due for, and I was just like antsy more than anything. Like it's just like a dull throb, or like a headache. And so you can't lay down flat. They want you to sleep sitting up. So I had like a bunch of pillows sitting me up, and there's obviously like a lot of drainage right after, I knew that there was gonna be a lot of drainage because that's what I was told by my doctor, but you really don't like expect the amount that actually happens. It was like so much that I was sleeping with a towel like to place my head on because I was leaking so much. But yeah, so 9 o'clock at night, they brought in a little like TV for me to watch a movie. And then I had brought stuff to crochet because I like doing stuff, especially if like I'm anxious or in pain. I like having something to do. So I crocheted, I think until like 3 a.m. and I was still like not in immense pain. It was super manageable. Again, just like a dull ache, like you got hit in the eye maybe, and like it, hurts and you have a bit of a headache. Nothing terrible. I did fall back asleep around 3 a.m. and I woke up like 7 or 8 a.m. and that's when the worst of it was. The pain was like a sharp, like pressure, stabbing, really bad headache feeling. And the best thing to do was for me to just like move as little as possible. So you have stitches in the socket after they remove the eye, and all your muscles are stitched. So when you move your remaining eye, it still moves those muscles. So that hurts when you're like fresh out of surgery like that. Well, for me, it was the next day. That was the worst of it. And so as long as I like didn't like look around and move my eyes, it was more manageable. It hurt. I just wanted to like lay there with my eyes closed and like ice on my head. But it wasn't anything that was unbearable. Standing up, that was hard. Every time that I would stand up, I'd get like a really sharp pain and I'd have to like kind of sit and wait for it to go away, and then I could move on. For anyone who's had like any type of surgery where you have like stitches or anything, that like moving and then like having to sit and like wait for that initial pain after you've just moved to go away, that's what it was, just in my head. And I remember they showed up and I was like, I couldn't even talk just because like the head pain is so bad that like moving your jaw hurts your whole head. So I just kind of took things slow. They wheeled me down to my car, and the hospital I went to was an hour away from my house. So then we had to drive home, and I think I slept most of the car ride. I had ice packs on my head. One thing that I would do, like if I ever had to like go through that again, which hopefully I never do, but I would invest in like one of those migraine caps that you can pull over your eyes and it just stays there. Cause like having ice packs, it's like rock hard and like not comfortable to like have pressed against your head, especially. I used ice like all day that day. And like I wanted to sleep, but then if I like wasn't holding the ice to my head, that's when the pain would get worse. So I would definitely invest in like a migraine cap that covers your eyes too, because I found I was light sensitive from my remaining eye. I think just from like the whole head pain, and waking up from anesthesia even gives you like a bit of a headache. So I definitely would get that next time. And lots of gauze. So back to that like drainage and stuff. Before I left the hospital, the nurse taught us how to switch my dressings, and we got home and we had to start doing antibiotic drops. So you're stitched, well, not everyone, but a lot of the time they stitch your eyelids together. So you can't even like actually open your eye, and it's really swollen too. So we had to like pull open my eyelids to get the antibiotic drops in my socket. But that part wasn't painful. I was also on oral antibiotics, and they sent me home with like, I think they were pretty much like T3s. So not really like good pain meds and you'd think you would get better pain meds, but you don't. But thankfully the pain really doesn't last that long. That first day, like it's all still a little bit jumbled, but we would just get up, switch my dressings, because again, I was leaking so much from my eye, and it's like a bloody yellow color. And I was scared of it. I was like, oh my God, like it's bleeding, but like that's normal. I think I had like blood in my discharge for probably the first week. But that first day, I pretty much just like slept the whole day. And when I would need to like get up to like go to the bathroom or anything, I would just have someone like help me up, and I'd have to like hold my hand against like my head and my eye, because that kind of helped with that initial like stabbing pain when you first stand up. But for the most part, I just had like everything I needed within arm's reach of me. So I limited how much I had to stand up and go walk around, because I also was like pretty dizzy. again, it's all very manageable, but that first day is definitely the worst of it, and you're definitely really sore, and moving around hurts. By day 3, I was already going out of the house, just very small trips, but I was going out. I remember day 3 because I remember being out at the mall and looking at stuff like up on the shelves and looking around was painful still. Like it still hurt, and then it would get more and more sore throughout the day from looking around, just because you're like moving those muscles that are still stitched and healing. But again, it was not terrible, and I think that I had, really great support, which made it a lot easier for me as well. If you can have someone there to like just help you the first few days, especially just with the anxiety of it. I mean, it's a lot to go through. I think that really helped me a lot. And then yeah, the ice or migraine cap, that helped like the most. That's what I used the most. Lots of gauze. They only sent me home with like a couple pieces of gauze. I used like 2 packs of gauze just because the drainage was so bad, and it was like uncomfortable trying to sleep with like your face would be like wet from it. And I hate that. Like I was not comfortable trying to sleep like that. So we like gauze up my whole eye and put like eye patch tape onto it, just like a whole thing. I'll add pictures in here too. But that helped so it wasn't like dripping down my face while I'm trying to sleep. I always tell people who've asked me, I'm like, get lots of gauze, have lots of like clean cloths, just to like keep yourself comfortable. But other than that, there wasn't too much that I found I needed to use. But yeah, just having a little setup of like everything you'll want for that first like day or two, and just having it near like your bed or the couch, wherever you're planning on just like healing. And then yeah, a week later, my eye, the swelling had gone down, and the stitch through my eyelids actually stayed for like, I think it was like 3 weeks till my mom finally just like snipped it and pulled it out, because like it was starting to irritate my eyelid. But the swelling went down within about a week, and I could see that my eye was starting to open, and that's where you see the conformer, which is just like a clear shield. It's almost like a really big contact, and they put that in there to help hold the shape of the socket and to like keep any debris out. And so I saw that, and then you can see like the inside of your socket, and I thought it was going to be a lot more gruesome. It wasn't. I'll add photos again into this video, but it was not nearly as bad as I had expected. But I refused to look at first. I did not want to see it. I wasn't even sure if I was going to look at it until I got a prosthetic eye. But it was not nearly as bad as I expected it to be, and it was almost, a relief. It felt like a really hard part of my life was over, because the pain that my eye had caused me, having it gone, was just like, it felt like I was going to be okay. Like I wouldn't have to stress so much about like every single day what I'm doing, and if I'm gonna, make my eye flare and have, pain for the next 4 days. So it was really a relief for me.